Good morning. So, coming soon is a new add-on for Boxing Time Bouts called Bloodsport Kickboxing. This is mostly league information and a federation of rules with just one table of custom charts. Anyway, it is free. It will be a free PDF ebook download to go with your boxing time. So those who don't know, the very first game I ever created in my life, I was 9, and we had ESPN. My father had a big satellite. I mean, one of those giant satellite dishes about the size of a Volkswagen. And we had ESPN and the satellite dish, and that was my first chance to see professional kickboxing on television. And I already, as a kid, loved Bruce Lee and karate movies, and so I fell in love with professional kickboxing. I was already I was a boxing fan, watching with my father. But in 1979, the ESPN started to telecast professional kickboxing, and I fell in love with it. Superfoot Wallace, of course, Chuck Norris had been a karate champion, and he had been a professional kickboxer. But the point is, all of these things were influential to me as a 9-year-old kid. And I created my very first kickboxing game using my D&D dice. I had bought the 1978, or I think I had the Holmes 78 set of D&D. I had absconded with that from my oldest brother's closet. So I had this D&D set, and I had all those amazing dice, 6-sided die, 4-sided die. And so I used all those dice to make a kickboxing game. And I've talked about this before in other videos, but I don't know if I've talked about it in recent years. And my friends and I, so we'd randomly create fighters, and we would fight on these kickboxing charts that I had made with using all the different dice for damage. And we fought until we literally wore those papers out. And eventually our fighters' pages, we'd wore holes in the pages where we'd change their records and change their hit points. And it was the first thing I'd ever made. I was so inspired by kickboxing as a kid. So anyway, I don't talk about it a lot. Kickboxing is not a prominent sport because of the UFC, MMA, and of course, boxing itself. But I still love formal professional kickboxing. So anyway, being inspired over the last few days, I have made a kickboxing module for Boxing Time Bouts. So if you already own Boxing Time Bouts, you can get the PDF of Boxing Time Bouts ebook free from Lulu. Just grab it. It's a free ebook. Or you can buy the booklet version, which I, of course, have shared on the channel when I'm playing with that booklet. This will be a free ebook download. Never fear. It's just an add-on. It's for those who, like me, might love the idea of kickboxing. So what is the only thing left to do? The reason I'm not announcing it's out is I have to make the schedule for the league. So this assumes you're going to need this booklet. You're going to need Boxing Time Bouts. You're going to need 5 dice minimum, and you're going to need paper and pencils. I provide a league and a league kind of rules with pre-created kickboxers. I just haven't, so why have I not released it yet? I have to schedule the bouts for the league. So this just talks a little bit about how everything works. And then there's a little history, the American Kickboxing Federation. We're going to assume this is 1976. The popularity of kickboxing is at an all-time high, and a man named George Atkins is creating a professional kickboxing federation and league for America, as at the time, most dominant sanctioned kickboxing was occurring in Japan. Anyway, so it's kind of a fictional write-up of how this American Kickboxing Federation starts. Again, this can be used as a sample or inspiration. You do not have to play this group of boxers and these rules, but I'm trying to provide as much here so people can drop right in and play. The American Kickboxing League, as of 1976, features this 16 kickboxers. They have their rating. This is something I teach in this version. You can get the formula for how to rate your boxers, so you know what their number value is, and you can use this formula for Boxing Time Bouts as well. Obviously, a high number is good. A low number is not such a great boxer. Skill, this is the number of dice they roll when they roll their point tables. Quality is the quality of fighter they are. This includes their ability to punch, kick, defend, move. So we don't have offense and defense. We have quality. Jimmy Bird is a high quality all around fighter. Their knockout number, again, the lower the number here, the better. You want a 2. That's the best. 5 is the worst. Limit, this is their endurance. After round 7, their TKO points are accrued to see if they suffer a TKO, and you continue to do that for the remainder of the fight. So that's how limit works. And then bouts, this is the number of career bouts they can have before they must retire. Also, there is an optional career feature in Boxing Time Bouts that lets you spend some of your career bouts to improve ratings. That is also included in this. Now, the league point structure, if you complete a full bout, whether you win or lose, you're going to score a point. If you complete a bout and a points win, you're going to score 2 points. If you lose by TKO or KO, you'll get no points. And if you win by TKO or KO, you'll get 3 points. These are league points. You can also consider this purse. So if you wanted to count these points as money earned during the league, you could see 3 points is so much money. You win by TKO, you're going to get paid a higher percentage of the purse. But they're league points because after the season is complete, the top 4 point earners will face off in a final 4 versus 1 and 3 versus 2, and then the winner of those will fight off for the league trophy and the league belt. Season bouts are 8 rounds in length. The final 4 bouts are 10-round bouts, and the championship bout is a 12-round bout. The top 4 point earners will face off. I already talked about that. Final 4 looks like this. And then I have the schedule. I just haven't scheduled the fights yet. This will be the entire season. A season is 6 bouts long. Every boxer in the league will fight 6 bouts against a random opponent, which means out of this tier, there are going to be boxers that a boxer doesn't meet in this 16. This league is 16, but your league could be 48. Whatever you want to schedule, it's your business. So this league is set to 16 every season. That is a bout every 2 months. So the reason I did 6 bouts is we assume they get 2 months to recover, heal, and train for the next league bout. So that means everybody's going to be fighting on roughly to get all 6 of their bouts done in a year. So that's why I have only 6 bouts in the season. In 1 calendar year, that would be a fight every 2 months, right? Just for, but again, this is a paper and pencil. You could schedule as many fights as you want and not care about actual time. But I'm thinking in terms of the reality is you would need some time to heal and some time to prepare for the next fight. Okay. So there will be 48 bouts in the season, then the final 4, bout 1, bout 2, and then the championship. And then there's the rules. Bloodsport kickboxing does not use the 10-point must system. Rounds are won by points scored, and a KD is a 20-point round. Boxing Time Bouts round points are scored as usual. In other words, if you have, you're going to use the Boxing Time. So if you need Boxing Time to play this because you're still going to use the Boxing Time boxer generation and the Boxing Time score cards and rules. So you still need Boxing Time Bouts. This is just an add-on with rules to differentiate it. Injury and TKO stoppage is declared between rounds by a doctor. So if you have an injury and the fight ends, well, obviously that will stop at the end of the round. So even though somebody gets hurt, you're going to complete the round. Then the injury check would decide whether the boxer has to retire from the fight. If it's a TKO stoppage, you're going to still resolve the round, even though right? And then the doctor would step in and say that's enough. There's also DQ in this version of the rules. So Boxing Time Bouts does not identify being DQ'd, but in kickboxing, we're going to have a DQ. So if you record 3 fouls in any bout, or a boxer records actual fouls, because you can get a foul, but it doesn't happen, right? You remember you have to confirm cuts, you have to confirm injuries, you have to confirm fouls, you have to confirm KDs. If a boxer gets 3 confirmed fouls in a fight, they're DQ'd. they will score no points, and the other boxer gets a point for a win, which would be equal to a draw or a loss, but at least the DQ winning boxer gets a point. Okay, so it can hurt, if you win a fight by DQ, it can hurt you in the league. But if you lose a fight by DQ, it's the only way not to score points, basically. Well, it's not the only way not to score points, but so let's put it this way. A DQ win isn't going to help a fighter much, but it certainly can. So you don't want to see DQs on either side, but at least if you win by DQ, you're going to get a win and you're going to get a point. Boxing Time Bouts career improvement rules are optional. However, boxers on the verge of being dropped from the league would spend 5 BTs to improve their chance to stay in the prestige league, unless it would force their retirement. All blood sport kickboxing bouts count against the kickboxer's career bouts, regardless of having been last season's champ. So if you hold the belt or the championship trophy in the league, that does not protect your boxer from losing career bouts. This isn't the same as Boxing Time, where once a boxer is holding a belt and defending their belt, they don't count those bouts against their career. You will count all bouts in this against your career. The American Kickboxing League boxers may fight in sanctioned or unsanctioned kickboxing or boxing bouts. All bouts will count against a boxer's career. So you can take your kickboxers and also fight them as boxers in Boxing Time. However, kickboxers will see all of their ratings reduced by 1 when they fight as boxers. The reality is kickboxers, I hate to say it, but kickboxers, boxers fare better against kickboxers because kickboxers don't get to use their feet, and they're accustomed to their strategies and tactics also using their feet. As opposed to, most people know this, boxers are punchers, and they've spent their lifetime honing their ability to defend and to attack with just their hands. So kickboxers tend not to fare as well against traditional boxers. So to represent that, if you wanted one of your kickboxing sanctioned fighters to fight in boxing, you would lower their grades. What that means is Willis, for instance here, James Willis, he would drop to a 4B, 5, and he would drop to a 6 limit. And of course his bouts would be unchanged, whatever his bouts are. So when you fight one of your fighters as a boxer, all of their ratings get worse by 1. Their KO would get worse by 1. Their skill would get worse by 1. Their quality would get worse by 1. Obviously, if they're the worst possible, you can't get worse. You can't get worse than 3. You can't get worse than F. You can't get worse than 4. So like Erickson here is going to be this bad as a boxer or as a kickboxer. Okay, so there's just some rules on how this affects the Boxing Time bouts if you wanted to interchange them. Of course, you can do whatever you want. This is more of a league module. I'm just sharing the idea of a kickboxing league. But at the same time, I've also added a set of charts which are important to me for kickboxing. Also, I've even got some art in the book. So Bloodsport Kickboxing KO result table. So what happens when you score a KO in the fight? You look at the boxer's KO rating and you roll a d6 to see how they scored the KO. So these are just details. So let's say my kickboxer is a really good knockout artist. He's a 2. Let's say I get that knockout. I'm going to roll a 1d6. I roll a 4. It was a kick punch combo to the head that ended the fight. So this is just a way of getting the details of how a 2 knockout kickboxer scores his KOs versus a 3 versus a 4 and a 5. You'll find the 5 throws more. 5s are not great KO artists, so they would be throwing things like haymakers, which is not ideal. They might get a good kidney shot or liver shot that brings a guy down. That's it. Fight's over. They would require 3-punch combos to bring a man down. So a guy with a 5 KO is not very good, which means these guys would have to string together multiple punches to bring a guy down, or they would have to throw haymakers, or they would have to throw a lucky kick, side kick, front kick to the body, hook to the head, uppercut to the head. These are traditional, so they stay in. But you'll find like 2 is going to have more exciting knockouts. A 2-punch combo to the head, a front kick to the head. All of these will be to the head as a 2. Again, as a knockout artist who is going to hammer guys with shots to the skull, roundhouse kick, etc. So these are just highlights. You could invent your own. The goal here was to just say, how does this guy score his knockout? And in kickboxing, of course, I want to see how he does that. You could write your own right? You can create your own, or ignore this. Just fight the fighters and ignore this chart completely. The rating formula is very interesting. Your skill number plus your quality value and your KO range probability. This determines the value of a fighter. So quality value. So if you have a boxer with an A quality, then it's worth 5 points. If their skill is a 3, that's 8 points. And if their range probability is a 5, that's 1 point. That would be a 9-point fighter. So you can just add those things up. I give you what they equal in value here, and you know what the value of a boxer is. So you can look at these guys that I've invented, rolled up for this module. Bird and Webb are the 2 highest valued boxers in this set. They both score 5 and 5, that's 10. And then, of course, their KOs are identical. That's going to give them a range of 3. That's 13. That's where their 13 points come from. So we got 2 guys that are rated identically. Again, I randomly rolled up all of these fighters to make them, and I just happened to roll up some really good fighters here for the top end. And then, of course, I rolled up a couple of bad ones down here. But that's how you can find out what the value of your boxers are worth, too, right? In the your Boxing Time universe, you can find out what the value is. This would be great. One of the reasons you want to know the value is that just at a glance, you can say, wow, you don't really have to. When you can see skill 5, quality A, you know this guy's good, period. But when you see that raw number that's high, you can just kind of quickly gauge, oh yeah, Bird should beat Erickson, period. But also, if you're playing a draft league and you want to have money, you want to give owners in a league money to purchase boxers or whatever, you can use this as an actual value. This is their contract value. So if I had 24 points as an owner and we were trading boxers or we were buying boxer contracts or whatever, you would use this score as their value. Bird is worth, he's an expensive boxer to own, so to speak. So these raw ratings become a value to you in that way. And again, there it is, folks. This is done. All I've got to do is, again, schedule the bouts for the first season, and I will put this out as a free add-on addendum. Again, Bloodsport Kickboxing. It is a Boxing Time Bouts add-on. And there may be another version like this coming featuring MMA and pro wrestling. Bloodsport Wrestling and Bloodsport MMA. But how MMA and wrestling will both actually see more game charts added. Remember, this isn't changing the game charts. It is adding a knockout details chart. That's it. And it adds some rules for how it affects your universe of fighters. But already I've got the MMA rules down for how I want to add to Boxing Time Bouts MMA. And that does actually change the rules. So you would have to, that would actually be rules that you have to do different than Boxing Time Bouts or this. And then pro wrestling would have different rules as well. And I'm working on both of those versions. So you can count on seeing, hopefully, as I play test those, if they prove to be boring or they prove not to give me what I want, then I won't finish them. But you might see 2 more Bloodsport add-ons. So Bloodsport Kickboxing is an add-on to Boxing Time Bouts. There will be Bloodsport MMA, and there will be Bloodsport Pro Wrestling, if I'm happy with those. If I'm not, then I won't do it. And that'll be that. So, a matter of fact, anybody out there in the community that thinks they can make a good Bloodsport MMA add-on to Boxing Time Bouts, I would love to see I would love to see it. And we might publish that as a free add-on for Boxing Time Bouts, or anybody out there that wants to look at my Boxing Time Bouts and think about a way to make a wrestling module for that. I would be more than willing to invite other members of the community to put their hand in creating the 2 other Bloodsport rules. Now those, like I said, on my side, my MMA and my pro wrestling are actually going to be adding some rules to the game. They are different sports, right? So MMA is completely different Bloodsport. Pro wrestling is a completely different sport. Kickboxing is different in that they use their feet, but outside of that, it's still boxing with feet. So I didn't think I needed to change the rules a lot to add a sport that I absolutely love, kickboxing. All right, so keep your ears and eyes open for those of you who like my Boxing Time Bouts. because I will be releasing this once I get all the fights scheduled for season 1. All right, everybody have a wonderful, wonderful week. Bye-bye.